Hello.
Hello. All right. So this is episode 18. So we'll get right in on it. This one is entitled Gaining Sight in the Land of the Blind. So this is a continuation of last week's or last episode.
I was gonna say you're going with it. I
Yeah,
thought, wow, you get sight.
it comes and goes. It's weird how that happens. Um, all right. Hey, were you eavesdropping on our conversation? Annie exclaims her question to Valor. He nonchalantly dismisses her set by saying, I wouldn't call it eavesdropping, more like listening to a publicly available radio broadcast. You should try it. It's very entertaining. She huffs. You know I don't know how. He shrugs his shoulders and says, Do I? How are your meditations coming along? Better, or they will be after my talk with Christos earlier, which you probably listened in on. He answers with a, What? She pointedly asks. He responds with, Oh, it's a nothing. Huh? You were listening, she exclaims. You insert yourself. Valor, leave her be. Annie, go focus on nothing. She huffs again. But you interrupt her. He's messing with you so you'll be motivated to expand your thinking. And how do you do that? She rolls her eyes and says, Okay, I'm going. I'll see you later. And she heads towards your workspace entrance. You then turn to Valor, who gives you a raised eyebrow, signaling he's going to stay for more discussion if you want. You give him a nod and then turn to Kira, who's picked up the signals. She then politely says, I'll leave you two to talk. You graciously accept her offer and tell her, I'll see you over at GCOS tomorrow. But if you have any questions, she finishes your sentence. I know how to reach you. And she too heads for the workspace entrance. You now lean back in your comfy seat and blow out a stream of air. The Lord glances your way in some concern and asks, Is it that bad? You shake your head slightly and say, It was working up to it. Why can I not see these opportunities when they land in my lap? Instead, my first reaction is self preservation. Patiently, he explains. You will, but first you must allow yourself to be confronted by these situations so that you can see your actions for what they are. And what are they? You ask. He gives you that knowing look and then answers, You know, as well as I, they represent the last of your avoidance. Almost by rote, you ask, Avoidance to what? He sighs, Why must we do this? You have you have your own guide. There is nothing to be punished for. All the pieces fell into place and you stopped yourself from impeding progress. Yep, because you were here to catch me and to steer us towards that progress. When do I fly on my own? You protest. Still patient, he provides the words you already have. When you decide you're ready for the responsibility, you're allowing the progress to be made. You just use me as your go between in the meantime. I allow it because I know you'll always open your eyes to it afterwards. Hence this conversation. A heavy sigh escapes you. I don't know if I should thank you or curse you. That is your frustration talking. It's funny how you can assist Anne with her frustration, but you have trouble following your own advice. Funny? You question. He shrugs and says, My choice of description. I just find it interesting that you have the pieces, but you refuse to put the last one in place to complete the puzzle. What do you think will happen when you do? Staring at nothing, you answer, One life ends and another begins. He stares hard at you and says with emphasis, You say that like you're leaving or dying, which is a very myopic view of bringing more of yourself into your being. Yes, things will change for you. Certain aspects of you will fall away, but a new expansive expression of you will be unveiled. You sigh in exasperation. Yeah, I know, but why do I feel like a part of me is dying? Empathetically, he answers, that is the saying goodbye to the comfort of old you've grown used to. It's the house you've lived in for 50 years that no longer supports your growth, but you feel nostalgic, almost a part of it, neither one wanting to let the other go out of some sense of loyalty. Once you move, you'll be fine, better even, but that's only after you get through the move and the letting go. There's nothing that will make it easier. You have the time before acceptance of it and everything after. You are still in the time before. And one day you'll wake up in the time after, and that will be that. You look at him with some knowing, but say, you make it sound so matter of fact, like a flipping of a switch. He nods and says, it is, unless you're the one in the time before contemplating the move to the time after. In that position, you're slowing your time down because you sense the turn up ahead. Prior to this, you were mindlessly speeding along at the speed of light without much thought to what's ahead. In the blink of an eye, you become aware of your turn approaching. So you begin slowing to the speed of thought to prepare yourself for the turn. Right before the turn, you are the most cautious and introspective to be sure this is the turn you want and your vehicle is properly oriented to make the turn. You will be this way until you complete the turn. Meanwhile, you're quite aware of all the other vehicles flying by you at their speed of light who are not taking the turn you're about to, which gives you momentary doubt as to whether this really is your turn, since no one else is taking it. This lack of visual confirmation from others has you reevaluating over and over again your decision to turn. It is not until you release them to continue on their way and trust in your own compass that you'll relax into your turn. You look to him in wonder and say, wow, you really do have a way with words. I can actually see myself following that sequence of thinking. How do you know this so well to be able to describe it so clearly? With a sense of his own nostalgia, he lowers his voice to almost a whisper and says, because I have done it and been where you are so many times. You have too. Excuse me. You have too. Only you release the memory of doing so after you make each turn. This turn will be different for you. You will elevate your conscious ability to take control of your memories and use them to your liking. It will set you apart from most others in the traditional sense, but it will open many more possibilities of connecting with them in much more rewarding ways. You are gaining sight in the land of the blind. They have their paths and purpose, and you have yours. Think of this time you're in as part of the turn. You're getting in the turn lane and putting on your blinker to signal you're turning. Once you commit to the turn, it begins. And it's over before you know it, with you on a new road getting back up to cruising speed. We do transitions like this all the time. It's just this one represents a major departure from the old road and its direction to a new one that's headed in a completely different direction. It's time for a new basis of experiences, not just new experiences. The things around you and the people have served you all the experiences you needed for growth in base living. Now your growth requires a step up in scenery, awareness, and responsibility. Now you release these things and people to go where they will, and they will then release you to your will to become higher expressions. Up until now, your people could only achieve this kind of release through death. That was the original intent for your funerals and wakes, for all who held the deceased in place to release that person so that he or she could go prepare for a new basis of experiences. This time, You are undergoing that release while consciously in your body, essentially living your own wake. You are stunned as you tell him, huh, I never thought of it that way. That explains why this is so difficult. The Lord nods and adds, and why you have a sense of dying. In essence, you are receiving and accepting your last rites without the comfort of your deathbed. You stop him to ask, comfort? He nods repeatedly at your confusion and then explains, in pending death, there is a comfort of knowing there is no other option than release. There will soon be no body to hold on to. This assists everyone involved in preparing for the release. However, this time there will be no deathbed to herald the passing of the change. You must find a way across death's threshold into your new life experience without the comfort of dying. That may sound morbid, but in actuality, it's full of life and absent death, a rebirthing inside a living body. Your focus has been on the coming death you perceive and neglecting the expecting of your rebirth. If you were stunned before, you are now in a coma of shock. This puts everything in a new light. With an unsteady voice, you inform the Lord, I feel this resuming my release as if I was waiting for this moment of realization. There's a sense of knowing what is to come, like like the signs are right here and could begin at any moment. In understanding, he explains further, you have entered the quickening of your rebirth. External signs will start to appear, representing the changes going on inside you. With each sign, a knowing will suffuse your being, and your acceptance of it will usher in the next, with the gap between signs falling shorter and shorter until they begin to appear almost simultaneously. These are the labor pains of your rebirth, their severity determined only by the level of your acceptance. Barely able to maintain your exposure, you ask, what kind of signs are we talking here? Almost expecting this question, he informs you. To you, they will be earth shaking and prominent, a revising of your paradigm. But the early ones will be but stepping stones to further life altering changes. With giddy foreboding, you ask, how long will this shaking go on? Again, expecting this question, he answers, months to years. Each upheaval is unique to the person. You interrupt to question, upheaval? He nods and responds, yes, we refer to this time as the upheaval, a time with drastic changes, a clearing out of the old and a making way for the new. Your knowings coming online will help dissipate the severity of change, but some will still shock you. You will find reason little comfort as your old paradigm of reason breaks down and gives way to a new paradigm and its new method of reasoning. Remember, you will be birthing a new basis from which to experience. You ponder a moment, then ask, are these changes isolated to me, or will other people experience them? And if so, how will they deal with them? The Lord pauses to consider his response and then says wistfully, to each their own experience of it, you are drastically changing your view of the world, and they are in it. From your point of view, each of them will represent an aspect of your change, and you will see their addressing of it through your eyes. But they will be experiencing their own version of the reshaping of your world through their own perspective. You, as keeper and seer, can and will influence their presentation and the overall resulting response to the alterations of their world. In your view, many things will seem to just be happening arbitrarily until you come to accept that you are allowing and willing them into existence. There will be moments you feel overwhelmed or the need to do something externally, but it is vitally important that you recognize these are but outward manifestations of what is going on inside you. If you wish to experience the external consequences of these moments, by all means do so. But know that you will have the option to alter them inside you first so that you may cater that experience to your liking. For instance, you may be confronted by a group of people steadfast in their demands to prevent the celebration we have planned. The grounds for their demands are the same as yours were, the concern that it falls into hero worship. You've already addressed that concern, but they don't know that. Weavers are sent to explain, but it has no impact. Now, how do you wish to experience the situation? Your need to do something may compel you to go to them and explain, but how will that look with you arguing in favor of your own celebration? Taking some time to go inside yourself, you may realize this external protest is an outward sign of the protest still going on inside you. You can then decide a little protest like this may be worth the experience for everyone as a good counterbalance to the celebration. Or you could work to dissipate the protest inside you and watch how the external protest resolves itself. You have countless possible experiences of that protest to choose from if you take the time and effort to consider them to decide what's best for you and the people. At first, it will take deliberate willpower to keep from being reactionary to those situations and to make yourself consider your options. However, as you become more accepting of your options and your will's guidance, and as more of your knowings infuse your awareness, it will become second nature to look inside first before deciding on your action. And along the way, you'll be sharing this knowledge with others, especially your weavers, so that they too can be empowered to shape their own experiences. You sit spellbound at the things you already expected, but Valor's description is bringing it home to face. Still working through it all, you ask him, won't having more and more people shaping their own experiences cause some chaos? He's, he smiles that knowing smile again and answers, you mean more chaos than your society has seen in its past? They were already doing it to some extent. They just weren't aware of it. Passing along this knowledge will open their awareness so that they can choose to accept the responsibility of their decisions. You will see it in your weavers first, and you will be quite pleasantly surprised at how interconnected they become. And they will pass that on to the others. But yes, there will be some chaos. There is always some chaos for diversity's sake. We've learned not to fight it, but to embrace it by making it work to our advantage. Chaos is not the problem, but your response to it can be if you and your society are not aligned to your will. Set your intent to enlighten all who are open to your knowledge, and then let them paint the landscape with their impressions of it. That work of art will then become the stepping stone to your next co-creative art project. You and GCOS are not to be their babysitters, but instead, you'll be their tour guide to better and better experiences through your empathy, foresight, and your musings. Don't get lost in the idea of a perfect world. Just keep envisioning and guiding towards ones that are worthy of creation and a life worth experiencing. Nodding your head to his wise counsel, you ask him, how do you keep track of all this knowledge and to know what to say to make it clear? He gives you his questioning look and asks, how do you? You offer the same service to Anne as I do for you. You think on that and respond, I don't know. It comes to me in the moment. It's like I can feel what she needs to hear, and it just flows through me if I allow myself to focus on her needs and not on what I want to tell her. His knowing smile returns as he says, as though she were pulling the words from you. Yes, that's what it feels like. You respond. See, you can answer your own questions. Please inform your guide. I applaud his success in getting through to you. You snicker and plead. How do you know I didn't do that all on my own? Smiling, he responds. Who but a guided one answers their own question?
Very good. Good. That was really good.
That was really, really good. I visualized a lot of that, and this, I related to a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the weaving and the stuff going on right now. I mean, you can see examples at a small level, or even some of those, how one goes and then you get the others, and what cascades from that is largely off your perspective of it and how you weave your actors together, and situations together.
Yeah, in all societies, weaving is going on constantly.
Constantly.
Yeah, there are the leaders and the big presidents and CEOs and all that who think that that because of them, the companies are doing so well. That's a facade. That's all a facade. But weaving is going on all the time. What we've been missing is weaving from top to bottom. We're missing the top. The top is working against us. They're not working for us. All right, they haven't been. That's what we've been missing, and that changes a whole society. We are still weaving down at the lower levels, but it doesn't seem to go upwards. It hits a certain ceiling and it stops, and we don't get that up and down, that weaving that's done in what I would call a free society. That's what we're missing, and that's what's coming. And it's going to make us be so interconnected in multiple ways that it's going to blow our minds. When we think about it, when you have guidance, true, heartfelt, from the will of the people's guidance from the top, just imagine what that can do to a society.
I mean, look how, the situation right now, the president says all the time how that people responded to the situation we have going right now. As a country, as a society, we could have responded a variety of different ways to the situation. But how we respond, is
if this
really
had happened like 3 or 4 years ago,
oh yeah,
you would have had people bugging out for their bug out locations all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it would have been a very different response. Very different response. So there's lots of weaving going on to create a different environment, to create a different pattern. And right now those threads are being pulled, and we're deciding which pattern we want to weave.
Yes.
So okay.
Excuse me.
Pipe again.
Yeah.
I did that a while ago.
Don't pour tea into your lungs.
Well,
do not inhale your beverage.
Yes.
When I was coughing earlier, I did the same. I took a drink and a
I
little
felt you.
it went.
I felt you while I was reading, and I was like,
and I was trying to not cough really loudly, but it was the same thing.
It's amazing. It's amazing when we start quieting our minds and slowing things down because we've gotten away from work and all that schedule, how we can start to become more aware of our surroundings and things going on, and start considering other things that may not be in this existence, and that before you know it, you're imagining. You just spent the last 15 minutes imagining something that doesn't currently exist.
Yeah, and playing with your energy, with the birds and the trees and just imagine, if I sit here and I thought about this, and seeing if you can see a response in it.
Well, I had a bat in my yard 2 nights in a row. And the first night it kept flying through and I was like, come back. And I was thinking, come on back. And it was like flying like in circles in my front yard and then would go back. And then yesterday I went out there again and I was like, are you here, Mr. Bat? And boom, did he not fly right out and went round, circled the tree and went back around again. It's a cute little thing, fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so more and more people I think are opening. We just may not hear, excuse me, if there are millions of people doing it, are we going to know?
Mm-hmm.
Not if they're not writing about it, if they're not posting stuff about it, or they forget about it. Remember, we have dreams and you wake up and you remember it.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time you go through your morning routine and whatnot, you've forgotten it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I don't write it down or something, I forget it through the day. I'll have these, incidences and what we used to call coincidences, but they're not all throughout the day, or something will come to my mind, a thought will come to my mind, and then later it'll come up and it was very pertinent to what was happening. But, you just pay attention. I'm trying to start paying attention to it more because it happens more and more frequently now.
Yeah. I pay attention to a lot. I don't write much down anymore. I mean, I'll journal or when I'm writing intentionally. But now with my dreams, I'm like, if I'm supposed to remember, I'll remember. Just let me remember and absorb what I'm supposed to have, and let me know it when I need to know it. It's kind of how I'm at, or where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was the same way before I started writing the manifesto, and then I believe I made a conscious intent to start. I want to pull more. I want something that really expands my mind. I want to really think on things that are beyond the obvious external stuff. And that's what started coming through. And that's where I felt when I started really tapping into it, I realized I was tapping into something that we all have access to.
Mm-hmm.
All of us. I just made myself put my intent together to go get it.
Mm-hmm.
I was explaining it to her. I went to the public library. That's basically the way I would equate it. I went to the public library, I found the book, and I started jotting notes down. And then I put my own flavor on it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other analogy you used with me one time was you reached up and you felt it, and then you pulled the thread down and put it on paper. It's like it's all up there. It's all out there for us to grab.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like you're reaching up and going, yeah, I like that one. And, pulling it.
Yep.
And, when you're ready to make that intent to start pulling more in, you will.
Mm-hmm.
But no one can tell you when to do it or how to do it. This is just my travails through this process.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm putting stories behind it, but the points in the story are, and I don't know how I come up with these, because I can tell you right now, before I go in there to write, I don't have these in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I go in there and all of a sudden I start writing, and I just get like the first line, oh, hey, Annie. And then I just start writing it, and it just starts coming right there in the moment.
I don't enjoy writing. I mean, sometimes I enjoy writing, but I'm just not a big fan of it. When I channel, when messages come through, a lot of times it comes through my voice, and then I don't even know what I said. If I'm talking to a friend, I'll have all of a sudden like a 2-minute message, and I'll play it back, and I don't even really recall saying it. And then I'll be like, dang, that's pretty good information right there. That's some good advice. And it wasn't me. It was just like, I would just open up so that it could come through me. Mm-hmm. And it's usually something that I also need to know,
Yeah, exactly.
So if you something came to you, you sat down and something came to you, a bunch of numbers, and you wrote the numbers down, and you realized they were the winning lottery numbers that you didn't play.
Mm-hmm.
Then what?
Well, I don't know. I guess I just wouldn't be winning that week. I don't know. It just wouldn't be my time.
What if you sat down again and you got the numbers again, and you got?
I'd probably try playing.
Don't have to hit her over there 13 times.
But you need that confirmation to do it.
Huh?
And you need that confirmation before you'll. A lot of people do. They need that confirmation.
Well, I play the lottery sometimes and I don't win. But I mean, no, I
That's not
I just don't like. Sometimes I like to do channel stuff, and sometimes I just don't. I don't know. I'm very much in the moment, and I'm not really intentional about a plan with that for now. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it comes to me, I'm like, yes, let's go, let's have it come out or whatever. But sometimes I'm just not feeling it, or I'll have it and I'm like, I don't really feel like tuning into that right now, you know, and I'll just go to something else.
Choose.
And that's your choice. And
Yeah.
and my choice that I made is I wanted it, and I wanted it. I may have thrown in there every day. I probably should have not said that,
all the time.
Commitment, yeah.
because now it hasn't stopped,
Yeah.
and I spend 8-10 hours a day writing.
Yeah, that part right there that you read today was 2 days worth. That's 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah, because we did the other one
Saturday.
on Saturday night, and then I went in there that night and I didn't get anything, and it wasn't until the next day. So I wrote those 13, almost 14 pages in the last 2 days.
Yeah, about 16 or 20 hours or 16.
That's about
15 hours, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I told you this before. I was listening to, I think it was Joe Rogan or somebody talk about how long it takes to write like 1 hour of comedic material. It's like months or, you know, weeks to months to get like 1 hour.
And I'm getting, I mean, if you look at it from typed pages, it's probably about 7. That right there would have been about 7 pages, and I did that in 2 days.
And without having to go over it at all. Or find anything.
I come out and I read sections to her, and then I might put a comma in, or I might I'll have a missing the or an A, and I'll type that in, and that's it.
Yeah, very minor changes. Yep.
That's beautiful.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah. So I like it though. I like it so much that it supplanted my first real interest, which was reading, which I.
When you're writing, do you ever not remember writing it? You know, do you ever think you're doing automatic writing or anything? Like in a trance state?
No, I've read throughout the years, the last 5, 6, 7 years, I've read quite a few books on the auto writing and different versions of what people have written. That one you and I shared, it was a while back. I can't remember the name of it. But so I've read other people's experience with it. Some people remember pieces. Some people don't even remember when they're done writing. They go back and they cannot remember writing at all. No, I'm heavily involved. I get the gist of each sentence, because that's how it comes in. I don't get a full story. I get the gist of a sentence. I don't get the full sentence. I just get the gist of it, like an impression. And then certain keywords will come in, and I use those keywords in the sentence. And it's those keywords are what builds the sentence.
Yeah. So what?
And I remember writing it. I remember, I can still picture the pages, because she'll come back later on and say, hey, I typed this up and everything, and you know, and she goes, and then she's looking for something on the page and her type version, and then she's going, oh, she's trying to find it in the book, and I go, oh, it's on the bottom of the page. It's right at the bottom of the page, and whatever, and there it is, to be on the bottom. Because I remember, I don't have a photographic memory for words, but I seem to have some kind of spatial memory of a whole page. I can remember what is on a whole page.
Well, what's also interesting is it comes in, like you said, as sentences after sentences, and not even the full set or story. So whenever the conversation starts out, like when the last one I was just finished typing up, You know, you started out with Valor and Annie, and then comes in,
No.
you know, I mean, Christos and Annie,
Yeah.
and then comes in Valor and Kira, and then you wrap back around the things that they said in the beginning of that was really important for the latter
set
part.
up, and I didn't even,
and there was no knowledge,
and
that
I did
that
not
was
plan that.
coming.
Yeah.
This comes in sentence by
Because
sentence, which is
I'll go
really
back and read it
interesting.
and go, oh, okay. And I'm doing that on stuff that I read. Now I know I wrote it, but
Mhm,
it doesn't really hit home until I go back and read it,
mhm.
and I go, oh, that's why that word was used. Because later on, 10 pages later or 5 pages later, there's the finish for it, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh,
It's really interesting. Yeah,
Hmm.
very interesting.
yeah. So
Well, it's just a great way. I don't know. You're a good storyteller to get the point across. I love it.
oh, thank you. I enjoy doing that.
Mhm.
It's because the creative process, I'm creating something that does not exist.
Hmm.
And I know it when it comes in. It's got this, I don't know. It's like specifically addressed to me. Yes, it's information that anyone can access, but the way I'm accessing it and pulling it down to me is specific to the way I'm going to use it.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is it's the creative, you being able to create something that then also has a multidimensional use. So it's not like you're painting a painting and is you're just gonna put it in the closet
Or sell it to
sell
one
it
person.
or
Yeah.
throw it away, because you just
Mhm.
wanted to have the experience of painting. I mean, so it is the creative process, but it's also the messages that are in there are like very deep and pertinent and resonate so well. It's just, yeah, it
And
has so many facets to it. It's really funny.
And the interesting thing is, like I said, before this was coming through, I was spending the majority of roughly the same amount of time reading, just reading all kinds of things. I was reading novels that I enjoyed, whether it was sci-fi or whatever. And then I was also reading my own self-help things that, whatever out there, mind expansion things or whatever. And of course, you don't get paid to do that, but that the reward was in, getting something from I would have to go through, I mean, I had Kindle Unlimited, so I'd have to spend quite a bit of time searching for books, and I would, I may pull out 10 books, and I'll try all 10 of them, and one or two of them will be worth my time to actually finish. And that's kind of what I was seeing regularly. But every once in a while, I'll find 5 in a row that all 5 of them were really good. But then again, I was reading them so fast that I would just go right through them so quickly. But now that's what I was enjoying, and that was the reward I was getting. And now I've supplanted with this, and I'm not getting paid for it. We don't even have Patreon. We're not looking to make money from it. Even if I could, I don't want the hassle. I don't want the hassle of having to worry about
all that stuff.
all that.
I think you're going to be paid in other ways energetically just from giving such a gift of, what you're giving out.
Yeah.
I think the universe you'll be rewarded in other ways.
Yeah, it's an exchange. You're exchanging energy with the universe, and yeah.
Well, a lot of the points in this thing, I subscribe to. I mean, well, pretty much everything I subscribe to them. And one of the things I do believe, and I think I mentioned it, well, I know I mentioned it in one of the episodes, is that universe is really going to start rewarding people who have the intent to do good beyond themselves.
Yeah.
The more good that will impact other people, the more universe is gonna get behind that.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, this is like an early version of it, because I feel like this is kind of like a constant give and take, and it's almost like a writing of your own life. to some extent. I'm not saying exactly, because there's a bunch of characters in here and whatnot, but I feel like I am building my own path of a kind of world that I will live in,
Mm-hmm.
that we all will live in.
Yep.
Through my view anyway.
Well, we're already, part of the time we're already kind of living there by just imagining it, talking about it, and, you know, bringing it to life this way.
That's right. Exactly.
And I enjoy sharing it. I mean, to me, there's no blood and guts. There's no putting anyone down. It's just, to me, at a minimum, it makes you think.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely thought-provoking, yes.
Yeah.
But it's enjoyable to think, to let your mind go there. It feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it isn't just because I've read those help books that basically give you step-by-step guide and what you do, and it's kind of like, oh, no, please. No,
Step
don't.
one.
I don't want to feel like I'm in a classroom and I'm getting ready to get my hand smacked with a ruler. So that's one thing I did not. I said, that was my intent. I do not want to do that. What I want this to be enjoyable for all involved. And if people don't enjoy it, then don't watch. Don't be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to force anyone. So, but I had a strong urge to share this. And it continues.
Yep.
It's why because I could just write this and not even worry about the videos. You know, still not one person has asked for
Transcripts.
a transcript yet.
Really interesting.
Which by now we should have tripped over one or two.
Yeah.
We should have had one or two by accident or something, which I'm not worried about it. We just kind of snicker and say, it's almost like universe is going, no, not yet.
Not yet.
Wait, what?
Yeah, no, it is very interesting. And we're up to like 200, I think it's 212 pages typed or something like that now.
And that's before this, right?
That's before that part. And yeah.
I mean, that's
some people have it because I've offered it, you know, and they'll take it, but nobody's sent us a request, which is
I just find. I mean, if this was Jack and Jill, I mean, there should at least been one or two people that said, "Oh, let me see." I mean, because it's got poetry in there and it's got the other stuff in it. And I'm not trying to sell it.
No,
I'm just saying, if I ran into this, if I even got an inkling of this, I would say I got to at least read a little bit of it to see.
I would want to read it too. Me too.
Because it does have a very different effect when you read it.
Well, I mean, even because if I came across the videos just as another person and I heard that you could read it, I would definitely right after I would go on and try to find out how to get it.
Yeah, I've done that before. When they'll say, "I'll get the white paper or whatever," I'll go get it so I can look at it. And this one is so fascinating because it's so, like I said, it was multidimensional. It's multi-layered. When you read it, it opens up different parts of the story for you. That's not even when you listen to it, and it's.
She said, how did you describe it? You felt like it was speaking to you.
It was my voice speaking to me. It comes across. It's like when I read it, it's like it's my voice telling me this. And I'm going like, yeah. You know, it's just, we get this whole dialogue.
Yeah, I read it in my voice too. Me too.
So it's really.
And I had no intent to do that. All I want to do is something interesting, excuse me, that I would find interesting, and share the process that I'm going through in a unique, creative way.
Yep, and just listening to it is great, and you get a lot out of it. But then reading it is even deeper. I mean, when I get the joy of typing it, and then I get to proofread it again, so I get to read it a couple times, and it's I recognize and see stuff in it every single time I read it.
But it's
fascinating.
I've had the feeling because I remember at the very beginning when we were talking about it. I told you that I did that work at Nextel. I built that app. And I said, I felt when I was building it, something just gave me the impression that was going to have about a 10-year useful life. And I was going to be, part of that, that 10 years. And before that, I hadn't really had that kind of experience before. Little bits in here and there, but not where I went away and worked on it for 3-4 months
Mm-hmm.
solid to create that for a major corporation. Excuse me. But this time, when this started coming in, I recognized it right away. And I told you, what did I tell you? I said 100 years.
Yeah, 100 years.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know in what facet,
Right.
but I feel like any
Mhm.
day now,
Mhm.
I'm not trying to sell it, but any day I feel like the gates are going to open.
Mhm.
And this thing is, people are going to want to hear it
Mhm.
and want to read it.
Yep.
And I'm looking forward to that, but mainly so other people get
Dialogue.
sparked so they can spark a dialogue, and let's see where we go with this. This is just one possibility among the infinite possibilities.
Mhm. Yeah, because the interesting thing is, if you engage with it, you know, the belief is, the thought of it is, it'll spark questions. And back in the story where it says questioning is input mode, right? So you would think, you know, you get dialogue going, you get some questions going about it, say, well, what about this? And I've thought about that. And that grows us all together. You know, we all then grow because we're pulling and looking and seeing different perspectives on things. So
Yeah.
I think that'll be exciting when we get to that point.
Yeah, this is not right or wrong.
Mm-mm.
It's someone's journey,
Mhm.
and then someone writing about it.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I'm actually writing it as I go through it.
This is cool.
I'm trying to get you two to do it.
Yeah.
I can't ask you to go first, so I went first.
Yeah.
Well, I do other stuff, just it's on Facebook or here and there, or other, I've got other things I do.
My conversations.
Hey, bring
with
it up.
people. Yeah.
Find your place. You don't have to. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, we've got a medium here to
Mhm.
share it, and
Yeah.
whatever it is, doesn't matter. It could be juggling.
Mhm. Yep. I have lots of private conversations with people. That's where mine comes out. But I've got to figure out how to
How do we share that with more
exactly.
people?
That's the thing. That's the part.
That's what you told me about this. I have conversations like that all, with people all the time, but I never record it. It never gets.
Write it down.
And I said, yeah, and that's somehow I found a way to take all that. And
I've been led to go live and do some chanting. Like I'm gonna go do probably the mantra purification, maybe the chakras, stuff like that.
you see, every time I do that, it rains.
Or you move the weather pattern.
Yeah. My mother's maiden name was Moon.
Moon?
Moon.
Oh, I like that.
Yep. My grandparents were very Indian looking. Yeah, I say Indian because I are one. That's I grew up with cowboys and Indians, so I just think I don't some.
I wasn't worried about the misconstruing the insult. I was thinking we have like Indians when we're talking about yoga and stuff. So it's like I wanted to make sure it wasn't that kind of Indian.
To clarify,
yes, just a clarification. Yeah.
You remember who was that Native American we went and saw shortly after you and I met?
The Wakamachi.
Yeah, we went down there and talked to him.
Yeah.
I would have liked to get more involved, but they're heavily, what's the word I want to use? Coerced.
Yeah, they're trying to find their way.
They're trying to find their way. They're just, everybody's coerced.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this manifesto is all about. Is freeing ourselves from the coercion. Yes, we volunteered for it so we could live in that kind of environment. But the universe is sending out all kinds of signs now. It's okay. Let's go. It's time to wake up. Time to go do something much more fun.
Yep. That's what I posted the other day. Are you influenced or are you informed? So I want people to think. Like, where are you getting? Why are you thinking what you're thinking?
Yeah. and paying attention to our initial reaction to things kind of can
What?
show us a lot, a lot about our paradigm, about what our perspective is really interesting. So I'm paying attention to what is my initial response, and then what is my following response.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm paying attention to her initial response.
Yeah. Sorry.
Because if mama ain't happy,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a tool.
Yeah, that's right.
Sweetly agreeing.
Oh gosh. We gotta go.
So, are we complete?
I think we beat that dead horse.
Okay. Bye, everybody.